Tenet was a sharp, action-packed thriller with jaw-dropping visuals and cinema heavyweight Christopher Nolan at its helm. And yet, it failed at the box office. Why the flop, you ask? I wondered the same thing. So I did a few trillion hours of research, and here are the results. You're welcome. Now, obviously, there are major spoilers ahead. If you haven't already seen the movie, don't let me be the guy who ruins it for you. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Tenet. Perfect title, by the way, as it is itself a palindrome, which means it reads the same backward as forward, which is basically the central theme of the movie. Starring John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, and Elizabeth Debicki, this high-stakes showstopper was directed by the one and only Christopher Nolan and produced under Warner Bros., Syncope, and others. And before you go nuts, yes, I realize Bella was in my last video, and now we're covering Edward, but I promise that wasn't on purpose. I also promise I didn't intentionally do a pair of 2020 releases in a row. Weird movie connections are everywhere, you see. Anyway, Tenet drew inspiration from Bond movies, the film To Live and Die in LA, and Nolan's own 2000 film Memento. Because why not draw inspiration from yourself? That way you won't get slapped for being a copycat. But I digress. Tenet was completed in 2020 and would have been released on July 17th had it not been for COVID-19. It was postponed, Tenet, not COVID, a few times and finally saw the light of day on September 3rd. And I know it debuted August 26th internationally, but who cares about that? With an estimated production budget of $205 million, it needed to gross about $410 million to break even, as marketing and distribution costs typically double the production budget. Unfortunately, its opening US weekend grossed $9.3 million, and to date it has only grossed $365 million worldwide, which is the first time in history that a Nolan movie did not at least break even. Meaning, technically, it flopped. Not bad, but yeah. Obviously, COVID-19 put a real dent in its performance. If not for the pandemic, I honestly think Tenet would have been a financial success. It had all the makings of a summer blockbuster, and its marketing efforts were solid. I remember being so excited to see it and so bummed when the release got delayed. But at the same time, Tenet definitely lacked in a few vital areas that would always limit its reception. But before the bashing, let's cover the highlights, shall we? Highlight number 1. Tenet looks fantastic. As with all Nolan films, this flick's visuals are mesmerizing. The cinematography, lighting, color palette, costume design, sets, practical and special effects, reverse action sequences, and stunt coordination were all stellar. It's one of those movies that you could watch without sound and still be blown away. Certainly helps that they used IMAX cameras, obviously. Personally, I saw this in an IMAX theater and, at the time, was super confused why so many people didn't like it. Come to find out, they watched pirated versions on their phones, which pretty much ruins the experience. Nolan movies are best in large theaters with huge screens and earth-shattering sound. Just saying. Highlight number 2, the casting. Every actor and actress fit their role perfectly. Never once was I like, who put that guy in this movie? In particular, I thought Kenneth Branagh was perfect for the villain role of Sator. Highlight number 3, the highway scene. I could watch this overall sequence 10 times a day and never get tired of it. I mean, it's got cars flipping in reverse, a heist that occurs at full speed, and a furious sense of intrigue. My skin tingles every time I watch it. I mean, dude bro, let's watch the scene that reminded me why I like cinema so much. Okay. You've got to admit that was dope. Highlight number 4, the locations. From an opera house to a war-torn desert and everything in between, this film did some serious globe-trotting. It produced both a sophisticated feel and an ancient one, and everything in between. It was a film that really moved and covered a lot of ground, which I appreciate. And highlight number 5, the twists. Okay, so I very much enjoyed learning that the protagonist was fighting himself in the Oslo Freeport scene. To be fair, it wasn't exactly a shocking twist, as this is the sort of thing Nolan likes to do, but that doesn't mean it wasn't fun. Did I mention there would be spoilers? But unfortunately, these factors were not enough to push the movie into profit territory. With that, let's get into the mistakes and corresponding fixes. Mistake number 1, the over-the-top complexity. It's one thing to force audiences to struggle and expend brain-melting processing power on a speculative element, such as people and objects with inverted entropy, aka moving backwards through time, when they just want to kick back and be entertained. It's a whole nother thing to fuse a mind-bending speculative element with multiple, interwoven, frustratingly complex plots. So, even though I appreciated the pretentious level of complexity, the general public cannot. And if the point of the movie was to be profitable, Nolan should have simplified the script, if even a little bit. I mean, good gracious. Good guys and bad guys both traveling forward and backward through time, helping each other account for the future with temporal pincer movements in an attempt to come out on top against the other side, which is simultaneously doing the same thing? I mean, dang. Plots within plots within plots can leave audiences lost and frustrated? Who knew? So yeah, I feel like the fix to this mistake would have been to stick to only one side using temporal pincer movements. That probably would have made it too easy for that side to win. But that's the trouble with time travel. He who controls time controls everything. So this fix, like many aspects of the movie itself, is a bit of a paradox. Mistake number 2. The score was a bit much for a lot of people, who walked away with their heads hurting from the auditory barrage. Observe. So be careful not to have your sound system up too high for this flick. How could this have been fixed? I don't know, maybe turning down a few of the maxed out soundboard dials? Mistake number 3, the emotional depth was lacking. Clearly, there was meant to be a connection between the protagonist and Neil. But at the end, when they part ways, the protagonist is all broken up about it and audiences were not. This movie was definitely an example of when an idea, in this case inverted entropy, assumed the driver's seat and character arc got relegated to the trunk. Without emotional depth or character arc, a movie is just flashing lights and will be quickly forgotten. How could this have been fixed? Well, I believe the best way would have been to have the protagonist begin the story with a don't care about anything attitude, and by the end be fiercely committed to maintaining world order and protecting his son, Neil. Oh, you didn't pick up on that. Well, I did, but I digress. The protagonist underwent very little character change, and his connection to Kat was thin at best. Mistake number 4, sound mixing. Okay, I'm a little embarrassed to say that I have watched this movie through about 3 times. The third time, I actually watched it with subtitles because I was having such a hard time understanding what the characters were saying. This did help me follow the plot more easily, which left me a little annoyed. Dialogue should be easy to hear and understand, and this can be fixed with very little effort via adjusting gain and frequencies. Had the dialogue been cleaned up and fronted better, instead of getting overwhelmed by the score or garbled by face masks, I think critics and audiences would have viewed Tenet much more favorably. And mistake number 5, a terrible release date. It was crazy to attempt a 2020 release, no matter what the movie was or who had produced it. Releasing Tenet in 2020 pretty much assured that it would struggle. How could this have been fixed? Well, had they delayed the release to 2022, I think Tenet would have been successful. I really do. Not only were theaters running on limited capacity, but it was a serious, humorless movie during a serious, humorless era. In 2020 and 2021, people desperately wanted to escape complex issues and intense situations. Tenet gave them more of both, which didn't fly very well. In conclusion, I need to reiterate that I enjoyed this movie to the fullest. A lot of people didn't, and I get that. But for guys like me, who like carefully crafted brain twisters now and then, Tenet was awesome. It's unfortunate that they couldn't have simplified a few plot elements, included more of a character arc, and delayed the release. It had all the other blockbuster boxes checked, and they poured so much time and effort into it. I mean, they learned to speak backwards and crashed a real 747. Can't wait to see what new craziness Nolan has in store for us in the Odyssey. Anyway, until next time, this is Miles Magnum. Thanks for watching.